Hello, my name is Conor Hickey. I'm Lead Solution Architect here at Dealflo. One of the common questions we're asked is, how does Dealflo integrate with multiple third-party vendors through a single API? And today we'll try and explore that in a bit more detail. The majority of third-party vendors or third-party services that we do integrate with are in the eKYC and ePYC space, so either validating a customer's identity or proving their identity. And all of those services are made available through the Dealflo Verification Hub. So a client integrating with the Dealflo Verification Hub has access to probably the broadest range of ID and verification services available through a single API in the market today. So if we explore in a bit more detail what the Verification Hub provides, and also how we handle the single integration to multiple services, so what do we make available in the Verification Hub? Obviously identity checks, we have KYC AML checks, we have warnings, PEPs and sanctions warnings on an individual. We may have bank checks, document verification, knowledge-based authentication used commonly in the UK here, facial recognition, one-time passcode, which is essential with document verification for eIDAS compliance in Europe, geolocation, device location, device ID. So you can see there's a multitude of services available through this single API. Now, we will integrate with many services in order to provide all of those features to our clients. Really what this question is asking, I feel, is how does a single integration give us available to multiple ID checks or maybe multiple KYC, multiple document verification through this single API? A client doesn't want to have to reintegrate with Dealflo if they're using one particular bureau to serve their ID check, or if they want to swap to another bureau to provide that ID check or have failover. How does this single integration work? Well, we'll just take a quick look at that, but we'll do it in the context of ID. But just to be clear, the same concept applies to any of the features that we've described here. So if we take Bureau 1, Bureau 2, both providing an identity check for KYC, eKYC. Now the same information is usually passed from client through Dealflo to each of the bureaus, normally name, address, and date of birth. And then the response usually is a similar type of response, giving you back the result of that identity check, but also all of the data associated with that result. Now, so it's similar information, but very much in different structures. So how do we manage these two different structures for a single response through our Dealflo API? Well, it's just done through standardization and normalization of the request and response. So within the Verification Hub, we will take a request, the Dealflo structured request, name, address, date of birth, and we will standardize that for the particular bureau. So if we're getting name, address, date of birth, we can form it into the request for Bureau 1 or form that information into the request for Bureau 2. So that's how the request works. Single API, single request by the client, access to multiple bureaus. And obviously that extends to n number of bureaus that we're integrated with. Now, a bit more complex is the response coming back from the bureaus. And there we just work on some normalization. So response from Bureau 1, we will interrogate that response and we will form a Dealflo response based on the information in Bureau 1's response, giving back structured information about the result of the ID check, top-level information about the ID check. And equally, if the response is from Bureau 2, we do a similar normalization so that we form the same response back to the client. So the client has integrated once with Dealflo, can make one request, and they can get the same response back from either Bureau 1 or Bureau 2. Now, what that gives you from the VHub's point of view is the ability to switch between Bureau 1 and Bureau 2. So a client can easily, as primary ID provider, have Bureau 1, and then easily through configuration start using Bureau 2. If Bureau 1 had uptime issues, then we can have a failover. So if Bureau 1 is down, we can automatically switch to Bureau 2. And indeed, if you got a fail on Bureau 1, you may decide to get uplift by doing a second check on Bureau 2. So there's intelligence that you can have within the VHub by using this standardization and normalization. This process can be extended to all of the services that we mentioned earlier. So I hope that goes some way to answering your question of how does Dealflo integrate with multiple third-party vendors through a single API. Thanks very much for watching.